Well, today I'm going to share career advice. It took me decades to learn, but because I don't have a ton of time to film today, you're actually going to come along with me on my errand day. So let's get going.
Number one is that you are not defined by your job, but you are defined by the way you do your job. And this one took me way too long to figure out because I always placed so much value on a title. And then I realized it doesn't matter if you are scrubbing toilets every single day, but if you are treating people with kindness, you are showing up with a smile, and you are giving your 100%, that is what defines you. And on the flip side, if you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, but you treat people like crap and you are just a mean, horrible person who uses people to just gain money and prestige, that is what defines you. And I don't want to be morbid, but at the end of the day, when all is said and done, we're not going to be remembered by what we did, but we're going to be remembered by who we impacted and how we lived our lives, including how we treated people while we were working and how we showed up each and every day.
As I'm perusing the aisles of Costco, I want to share tip number two, which is to take a break. How old were you when you had your first job? Because if you're anything like me, you're a teenager, which means you've been working for decades by now. And the expectation that we have is you work from a teenager all the way to 60s or 70s. And that's just crazy. So take a break. Now, I know you might not be able to take years off, but at least take some time off when you change positions. This is one of the only times in your life that you're not going to have to worry about all of the work-related drama at your old company, but you don't even know what awaits you at your new one. You can totally just take some time and refresh yourself. Now, I know if you might take vacations, that does count, but you always have that nagging feeling of like, what am I coming back to? Or what emails do I have? Or fires do I have to put out? But when you take time off between jobs, you are giving yourself a total reset. So make sure to build in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, even a month if you're able to. Trust me, your body and mind will thank you. As I fold laundry, here is my third piece of advice, and that is that you need to advocate for yourself. Remember, you are the one who is most invested in your career, and you need to take ownership of your career. I remember when I worked in HR, I would have employees come in to my office and they'd be really upset saying, you know what, I've been working really hard and I keep being passed over for promotions. And I'm like, okay, but what are you doing to advocate for yourself? Sometimes I'd be met with a blank stare. Other times I'd be like, well, I'm working extra hours. I'm working my butt off and it's still not being recognized. And I said, well, that's not advocating for yourself. To advocate for yourself, you have to speak up. You have to ask for opportunities. And that's what you need to do if you want your career to go in the direction that you really truly want it to go in. And it doesn't have to be awkward. It can be simply saying, hey, I worked really hard on this project. I am excited because I learned this. I helped the company this way or the department this way. I'd love to take on more opportunities such as this. Are there any areas for growth? And right there, the conversation has opened up. And make sure to ask. Simply asking can go a lot further than you may think. There is this fear that if you ask a question, that you're going to be met with a no. And if that's the worst case, that's not really a big deal, because even if you ask and you get a no, at least you've laid the groundwork that you are interested. If that's receiving a promotion, maybe learning more about a different department, even a raise, you're the one who needs to speak up for yourself, because ultimately you can't rely on being discovered or putting your career into the hands of another person.
I am back in the car with my fourth piece of advice, and that is to be the person that you wish you had at the beginning of your career. Now, my first job out of college was for a major law firm, and it was a dog eat dog environment, and I was miserable. No matter how hard I tried to reach out to others, I just kept being met with the cold shoulder. And I found another job and I gave my resignation. And at that point, I had a secretary invite me out to lunch. And I was like, okay, this is really weird, because the entire time I've been here, nobody has ever invited me out to lunch. So I went out to lunch with her and a few of the other women, and they said, we're really sorry to see you go. And I was like, what are you talking about? You've never even really spoken to me outside of hello and good morning. And that's when I found out that there was an unspoken rule that they waited about 6 months to see if the person could hack it. At that point, they would be invited into their inner circle. And I remember I just thought, oh my gosh, my experience could have been so much different if they would have been welcoming. And from that point forward, I said, no matter what job I have, I am going to treat everybody with kindness, especially people who are coming up behind me who don't know the ropes and might feel out of place and scared and nervous. And I'm going to go the extra mile and make them feel welcome. Well, and that's what my fourth piece of advice is to be that person. Be that person who asks how their day is going and truly wants to know the answer. Be the person who invites them out to lunch. Be the person who just shows them where the copy room is and where you keep the paper. Do they still do that? I don't know. Is there copiers and faxes nowadays? It's been a while since I've been in that type of environment. But anyway, my point is just think back to your first day. Your first day that you stepped foot into a place you felt completely overwhelmed in. What would you have wanted? I bet you would want somebody who's kind and somebody who says, you know what, I've been here. I'll show you everything you need to know. You've got this. So be that person.
My next stop was the library, but it is frowned upon to talk in the library. So I'm going to share my fifth piece of career advice outside. And that is, it is okay if your passion is not your career. Now, I know this goes against all of those feel-good posters and those words of wisdom that we've been told, such as, love what you do and you'll never work another day in your life. But life is just more complicated than that. And sometimes you might not even know what your passion is. And that's okay. Or if you do know what your passion is, you might not be able to make a living at it. But I will say, if you don't know what your passion is, just always remain curious. Like, never give up on finding it. And that just means exploring new opportunities, trying new experiences, and reading a lot. And when you do find things that you enjoy, that you like, follow those paths and see where they lead. Most likely, you're gonna find things that light you up even more and that you do find that you're passionate about. Now, if you do know you're passionate, but you're like, I can't make any money at this right now, that's okay. Just never let that flame die. Now, that's the worst thing you can do, is just get so bogged down by life and by work. And you eventually, I had a little bug on me, is get so bogged down by other things that you completely give it up. Yeah, don't do that. Make sure to figure out ways to incorporate your passion into your life somehow, whether that's through volunteering or helping out neighbors with projects, or even just having it as a hobby in your spare time. If you're able to keep that light alive, it's going to make you so much more fulfilled. All of this to say is, take the weight off. You don't have to make your passion your career, but you should at least enjoy your career, which I will get to in my next stop.
And number 6 is that there is no such thing as a dream job. Yep, I said it. I know this one is controversial, but I truly believe we put so much pressure on ourselves to find that perfect job, that dream job. But in reality, something's always going to come up that's going to annoy us. And that could be a boss that we don't get along with, office politics, or a project we don't want to work on. If instead you focus on the things that you do enjoy and say, you know what, yeah, there's going to be things that might irk me, but that's just par for the course. You're going to be in a lot better state, because yeah, it might start off shiny, but ultimately there's going to be something that takes that polish away. And instead, focusing on things you enjoy and that you like is going to leave you a lot happier and healthier than if you say, oh, this isn't a dream job after all. I have to keep looking, because you're never going to find that absolute perfect job. And that's completely normal.
And number 7 is that your early career decisions do not have to dictate your future career path. I remember being at an HR conference, looking around thinking, how did I get here? And am I the only one who's like, no, this cannot be my future? But at the same time, I thought, this is all that I've ever done, and I'm already so far along the career path. How the heck do I get off? But I knew that I couldn't continue in the same path, even though I made the decision years ago that I was. So I got off of the path. Was it easy? No. Were there a lot more obstacles than I thought? Yes. Was it the best decision I ever made? Yes. So just remember, whatever you started out doing, whatever you majored in, does not mean that that is ultimately where you have to end up.
You have control, way more control than you think over your career. So make decisions now that will impact your future self in a positive way. Like, really, have your future self be like, oh yeah, nice decision, current you. And my last piece of advice before I run and get my kiddo is to never compromise yourself for a position. I was once offered a job at CashNet USA. And yes, it's exactly as it sounds. One of those loan places that will approve you in seconds, but then you owe them like $1,000 in your firstborn to pay off a $500 loan. Well, I was really tempted. I mean, it was more money than I was making. It was at a downtown location with a swanky office. I was tempted, but ultimately I made the decision not to go with the position because it was a company preying on vulnerable and needy people. And every day I just couldn't imagine going in and supporting that and knowing that I was part of the problem. So if you are ever at that crossroads, I get it. It's tempting, but trust me, when you do compromise your values for a position, you're not going to feel good about it, and it's never going to end well. There are lots of other opportunities out there, and while it might be tempting at the time, trust me, you will not feel good about your decision. So make sure to use your moral and inner compass to guide you even when you are making decisions about your career. All right, well, thank you for spending the day with me. And if you would like some interviewing in HR secrets that nobody really talks about, but you really should, check out my video here.